to cast our eyes over, Mark, we're going to go back to 2 Fridays ago, 27th of October. I took the morning off work. We were all up bright and early to watch Australia take on England in the opening game of this year's tournament, and it was not quite to be for England, going down 18 points to 4. Australia's tries coming through Gillett, Slayton, Dugan, and McGilvray, who struck first for the English.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first game of the World Cup. It was probably the most exciting, wasn't it?
It certainly was, yeah.
And
we had some fan feedback. Should we do that first and then talk about?
Yeah, Paul O'Brien, we start with. Good start to the game, but seemed to lack ideas in attack. Poor kicking game gave Australia easy yards. Didn't really reflect the game, with Australia scoring late on. Anyway, onwards and upwards. Sounds like I'm reviewing a Windows game.
There you go. Neil McKeown said England didn't have any strike out wide. Bennett basically picked his biggest side and went defensive. Coped well with Sam going off, but Lomax was utter diarrhoea, dripping down your legs. Percival surely has to start ahead of Bateman in centres.
Rich Langley said, only 3 penalties in a game speaks to a fast, free-flowing game. Unfortunately, it was mainly flowing one way. England's defence was a positive, and hopefully sticking with the team will give them a chance to gel ahead of, hopefully, the knockout stages.
Dr. Bob Phillips says, despite the scoreline, I hope that points difference means nothing when it comes to the end of the pool, given how few chased Dugan to the line. This was a decent display by England. The wingers were magnificent, McGilvray even more so than Ryan Hall, and the pack battled hard. Our loss was through inability to invent the final piercing blow when at their line, and the recurrent failure to stop them stealing yards up the field.
Frogmore said, the game felt closer than the scoreline suggested. England just never seemed to get the set started from a good field position. Not that I can recall the game that well. Great to hear the English support in full voice. Made for a great atmosphere. Also bumped into the powerful Brian Davies. Great night, all in all.
Yeah, a bit of a theme developing here, isn't there now, with Brian getting about? There's been a few impromptu SLP meetups at this World Cup.
Well, until Mrs. Davis makes it over, he's got time to fill.
Yeah, there you go.
In fact, as we're recording, he might be hanging out with our old mate Steve Mascord as well, because he was talking with him about going to some of his book launch events whilst he's over there. Yeah.
Fair play.
So, Brad, get us a signed copy of the book to bring back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I hope he's taking his Super League pod jersey with him. Right. Dr. Hideous has watched it a week late with a pint of tawny port. A pint of port. What a man. Fantastic game, very clean on both sides and great refereeing. Couldn't disagree with any of his decisions. If you want an advert for the game, then this match is it.
Brian Davies said, good to meet up with Frogmore and share a couple of cold ones before and after the game. What a nice guy he is. You'd never have guessed it, would you? Good atmosphere in the ground. The opening ceremony, whilst not on the 2013 scale, got things going nicely. The England fan zone was full of us tourists and expats wearing any old England top they could find. The Kevin Keegan soccer top was even on show. England did okay.
There you go.
What do you think?
I think I agree with Brian. I think England did okay. I dared to dream for a few minutes when Jerry got over and got us off to a good start. And that first few minutes of the game was probably one of the best periods we had, well, certainly in the first half, because the Aussies did what we anticipated they would do and just kept battering on the door. And I do take a lot of positives from our defensive displays, but I worry, and it's a theme that will continue, when we start talking about the game against Lebanon. I worry that our spine isn't going to be either cohesive enough or settled enough to take us much further than a semi-final, if I'm being perfectly honest. And that was starting to show itself in the first game because we didn't kick particularly well. Distribution wasn't brilliant out of hooker. We looked lively in the game when James Roby came in.
James
that really
Roby
lifted the game. I think he needs to be nailed on at hooker now for me for the remainder of the tournament, to be honest with you. Certainly going to get to see against France whether or not he stakes a claim for that.
Well, you go in with both of them in the games against the big sides, aren't you, Hodgson and Roby?
You would think so.
But
the packs.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. I thought our pack was exceptional. We worked really, really hard. Some errors, and to be honest with you, the penalty calls that came just before that gave Australia those scoring opportunities. Whilst we were the architects of our own downfall, I do feel like they were a bit on the harsh side. And that's something that we can take from it as well. We were very, very close in this one. And the scoreline, even though it's only a shade like 2.5 scores, actually flatters the Australians because it's only in the last minute that they padded it out. I feel like on balance they deserve to win. But this is as good a performance as we put up against the Aussies for a long, long time.
Only because we had some field position in the second half. We were absolutely dominated in the first half, and the only positive to take from the first half was that one of our set plays, which not many other teams in World Rugby League can perform against other top teams, the passing move to the right that scored a try, worked. So that's a positive because it's hard to stop if we've got that clicking. And the other positive, obviously, was our goal line defence. Much of that was Jerry McGilvery, which we might miss. He was outstanding in this game in all facets, really. He didn't get too many attacking opportunities, but he took the one real one that he did get. Ryan Hall didn't get any attacking opportunities that I can remember. I have a problem with that penalty that was given on Sean O'Loughlin in the first half. Not because it wasn't possibly a penalty, or not because it was Sean O'Loughlin, but because no other penalties were given for ruck infringements in this game, and there were loads of incidents that were very, very similar to this one. I don't understand why the referees pinged this one. It didn't actually interfere too much with the play. He could have let it go like he let so many others go. It was really frustrating that this one wasn't allowed to go. The two in the second half, the referees had decisions to make because the ball ended up on the floor. The McGilvery one, that was a knock-on.
And the Whitehead one.
And the Whitehead one, that was ruled a strip. Now, the Whitehead one, I thought was the penalty there was harsh because the guy dropped it, Graham dropped it as soon as there was an opportunity that someone's hand was around the ball. So I think that was a bit harsh, but the ball hit the floor, the referee has to have a decision to make. McGilvery, I go with what he went with. Don't lose control of the ball, basically. Because if the ball hits the floor, he has a decision to make, and it's a coin toss sometimes. But I do think maybe we were on the rougher end of the decisions, but there were so few decisions to be on the rougher end of that we certainly can't be blaming the referee.
Look, it was a great game.
Our halfbacks didn't create enough.
No.
I feel. I'm not sure how much opportunity they were given to create enough. Especially the first half. But then there was mistakes, wasn't there? There was, O'Loughlin threw that pass out to Ryan Hall, and it was a bit of a loose pass, and Ryan Hall's positioning wasn't what O'Loughlin would have been expecting either. He didn't even try and retrieve the ball, which was, so disappointment all round there for those players. There was the one where Widdop threw the sort of loose pass back inside, and Hodgson didn't really go for it, and then it kind of landed between two players, so disappointment all around there. I don't want to ping any particular player. Then Lomax, who was mentioned in there, who was picked out individually, did make 2 or 3 errors in attack as well as the error he made in defence. But maybe he wasn't fully fit. I don't know. I certainly think fullback was the biggest question mark going into this because I don't think we had a plan, and I still don't think we have a plan. If we're going to play a third different fullback in a third game, it certainly indicates we don't have a plan, which is a shame because the Aussies do have a plan, and in this game their fullback was absolutely exceptional. He also made 1 error with a kick, but other than that, it was an awesome performance from Billy Slater. Cameron Smith was just
that whole Melbourne triumvirate, really.
Complete epicentre of control. And then David Clemmer was the best forward on the pitch for me. James Graham ran him close. Sean O'Loughlin was the other good meter maker from England's forwards perspective. They didn't make a lot of meters really. Graham the only one going over 100. David Clemmer had 169, and I thought he was physically imposing every single time he got the ball. I thought he had an immense game, and I think Jordan McLean was pretty impressive in his shorter spells off the bench as well. So I think they've got something there. I think our wingers outplayed their wingers, even though their wingers didn't do terribly. But that's not enough.
No. But at the end of that game, I came out of it feeling positive.
Yeah, because you felt like if the connections got it together by the time we have to play them again,
if we get to play them again now,
then we might be able to take more of some of these chances. Yeah, I agree.
Heading out of that game, not because you can't look at this with the colour of what we know is coming, but coming out of that game, I felt very, very positive about getting to a final and having a chance to beat them.
I was going through the thing that normally happens with England games early in tournaments. I felt positive a little bit because we ran it close and we were competitive and there was things to build on and things of promise, but then ultimately I was pissed off because we weren't good enough, and we should be good enough because we're an international side and we've got a Man of Steel and we've got the Dally M 5/8 of the year from the NRL, and we've got, you know,
we've got a pack that
the criminally underrated from any arsehole who says Sean O'Loughlin's not worth the shirt. Incredible loose forward, the best ball playing loose forward in the world still at 34 years old. So we had all those things and we couldn't put them together. And
we did it without our talismanic and arguably best and certainly best known player when Burgess went off.
Yes, that's a good point. We were, if anything, no worse for him going off, even though he was exceptional in that stint in the first half, I thought.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on from that one again. Okay, so Saturday morning then, Papua New Guinea beat Wales 50 points to 6. Tries for the Papuans coming from Mead, McDonald, Artio, Minoga, Martin, Olam and Paul Ayton, and a consolation try as it transpired for Wales's Regan Grace.
Yeah, Paul Mac _78 said, the people of PNG don't have much, but they have their RL team. I don't think I've witnessed a crowd so into a game. Only 15k here, but it was louder than any Origin or Grand Final I've been to. As for the game, Mead, Wellington Albert and Low were standouts. The crowd chanted Gary, Gary all day long. If the opportunity arises to get to a game in PNG, you won't forget it. Yeah, he was at that game, was Paul. That's fantastic. Man on the ground there for us. Frogmore said, at least Grace scored, I guess. And Brian Davies said, caught this one in 2 spells, partly at Cairns Airport waiting for my airport transport, and then later in the week repeated. The atmosphere was more like some of the pop concerts my teenage daughters went to back in the day, with screams every time PNG were on attack. It looked like such a physical game that seemed to knock a very average Wales side off their stride. League in PNG got to be on everyone's bucket list, surely.
There you go, yeah. Fabulous to see the scenes at Port Moresby, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were hugely dominant. I mean, they had nearly 3 times the amount, way more than twice the amount of metres, let's say 2.5 times the amount of metres that Wales did.
Look, they'll give everybody in World Rugby League a game at Port Moresby. They might have a skill deficit, but they will never ever have a heart and strength deficit.
The main thing from this game, for me, this particular game, was that they weren't tested hardly at all. They made mistakes on their own line. They made mistakes in the middle of the field. They made mistakes on the Wales line. They didn't end sets particularly well if they didn't score tries.
Right.
Which is obviously, they scored quite a few tries, so it's not the hugest
not the end of the world.
But this is a very understrength Wales side. It picked up some injuries during the game, which made it an even worse side. And if anything, PNG might have been a bit disappointed with themselves only putting 50 up.
So.
Is kind of the takeaway I took from it. They were outstanding. It was very exciting to see. I would have loved to have been there. A few players were mentioned by Paul. I would throw in Willie Minoga, who made over 100 metres in this game. And Enoch Mackey off the bench as well, who made loads of metres too.
Okay.
They were big, huge physical presences. Minoga's really impressed me in the second row with his line running. He's got an error or few in him. The reports I'm reading on from League Express suggest he's on the Canterbury Bulldogs books, but I'm pretty sure he scored the winning try for the PNG Hunters in the Super Cup final. So, you know, there's a player out there that someone might want to go and have a look at.
Yes.
I would say he impressed me in this game. Gary Lowe, obviously.
Gary Lowe.
He could be something else, or he could drop the ball. He's going to be so rocks and diamonds when it comes to Super League.
You never know with Gary Lowe.
But he's exciting.
He's very, very
well
exciting. Okay, so second game of the Saturday then saw New Zealand much shorn of key personnel for one reason or another, taking on the Samoans. Finished 38 points to 8 in favour of the Kiwis. Tries from Jordan Rapana, Sean Johnson, Brad Takirangi, Cody Nikarima, Isaac Liu, Roger Tuvasa Shek, and Thingy Asofa Solomona, whose first name escapes me for a second. Nelson, thank you. Samoa's tries coming from Maumalo and one of the Paulos.
Yeah, this game wasn't as exciting as maybe some of the others for me to view. And it was one that I had on the catch-up sort of process, this one. I didn't watch it live. In fact, I didn't watch any of these Saturday games live that day. I sort of caught them all up as we went along. And, it wasn't I didn't get too drawn. I don't think New Zealand were exceptional. I don't think Samoa were really competitive enough at crucial times. The players, I mean, Sean Johnson still pulls the strings there, so